Oh, perfect. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Oh, just living the dream out here, like everyone else. But I just wanted to say thanks so much for all your coverage and everything that you do. It's totally appreciated out here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. What are your thoughts? Which case are you following? Jack, Lilly, or both?
Uh, right now, I'm following the Jack and Lily case. I'm looking into it on behalf of a lawyer, Daleen Thomas.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and I just found it really interesting during this whole case that it's been like Project Obstruction. You
Okay.
know, with both sides attacking one another and getting in the way of information, withholding things, the attacks, the cyberbullying. It's just kind of gotten to a point now where I'm questioning what the whole objective of that is. Do you have any ideas?
Well, I know that when there's no answers, people will start to fill in the blanks. And oftentimes, when they don't have the answers and they start to fill in the blanks, they fill them in wrong. And it's not uncommon for family members to turn on each other. There was a case out here in San Antonio, a pregnant young lady. She was supposed to go get induced and goes missing the day before her induction with her boyfriend. A lot of people jumped to a lot of conclusions and thought that the boyfriend had done something to her and the baby. Weeks go by, they end up finding out that they are, as they were missing, weeks go by, they end up being found both shot in the back of a vehicle.
Oh, dear.
And up until that point, both sides of the family started blaming each other. The female side of the family was blaming hardcore on the male side of the family because he had some drug stuff in his past and whatnot. And when the truth came out, it was both of them. They both were involved. In fact, she was the one that set up a drug run, a drug buy. They went out there, a scuffle ensued, and they both got taken out execution style.
Oh, no.
Yeah, yeah. But during that time frame, the families, because there was no answers and because there was red flags here or red flags there, those things were magnified in the absence of answers to fill in those blanks, and families just completely turned on each other. And in this case, you have Daniel and Malaya that are turning on each other. And for me, that's what you want. If you're an investigator, you want your suspects to turn on each other. You want to separate them and isolate them and make sure they don't talk, which is what they did to themselves. Malaya left Daniel, blocked him on all things, and I'm sure law enforcement were egging her on. I guarantee you law enforcement were egging her on because they wanted to maintain the separation of that relationship, because they didn't want them to come together and have an alibi, clear up something, and have a story straight. And so they did it for them. And then they've turned on each other. And here recently, I've even heard where Malaya's side of the family, like within the family, are turning on each other as well. And again, this is because there's not answers. And so until there's some sort of answer or anything like that, I feel that we're probably going to see a lot of people turn on each other.
True, true. I have one last question, if you don't mind.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. We don't have anybody else on. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I have it under good knowledge that there was some evidence found in the beginning near the waterfalls, and it was found by a volunteer search person who notified the RCMP, and then the RCMP went and collected it. And I have a picture of the RCMP officer along with the vehicle that they were driving.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering why the police have now reported that it's lost. And my other one is follow-up is that Belinda Gray had actually indicated to us that there was a sweater wrapped in a towel that was also located on the search date that PBMH went out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we actually sent someone to go collect it and bring it to Major Crimes, who met them immediately and did pick it up. We've also never heard any word on that. I'm just wondering where all this missing evidence is going.
Yeah, no, I in an open investigation, we probably aren't going to hear about everything. Now, I do know in the RCMP documents, they reference a few other items that were found out there during the initial search and that they had no relevance. The media had stated that there was some items found, including a blanket, I believe, and that the RCMP comment to them was that they were not related, and that was referencing the Please Bring Me Home search. I believe it was the blanket, but I don't. It doesn't sound like anything has come up since the initial search of any relevance to the case, which can be concerning. But I also think that when I looked at where majority of the search was happening, it seemed like they were covering a lot of the same spots that ground and search and rescue team had already searched and covered tremendously. In fact, I think somebody had commented about the sheer amount of pink ribbons that were out there. Now, I'm not familiar with anything underneath the cliff and this picture. If you don't mind sending me that, I would really be interested in seeing that, because I'm not familiar with that finding.
Are you talking about the bloody sweater that was wrapped in a towel?
Yeah, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, that was outside the PBMH search area, actually.
Okay.
It was actually notified to PBMH, but they didn't care to go and collect it. They said that it was of no value to them as far as they knew. So that's why we had actually sent somebody to go collect it ourselves to submit it, because I don't understand under what authority any kind of anything around there wouldn't be something to be looked at.
I don't disagree with you. I think it should have been. I didn't know there was blood on it too. That's interesting.
Well, I can't guarantee you it's blood, but it certainly looked like blood.
Understood. Yeah, if you have information or images of that, if you don't mind sending it to my email at drunkturkeyshow@gmail.com, I'd love to look at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not familiar with that. And my goal has always been to be accurate, as accurate as I possibly can. That's why even when, like, for instance, things that have come out that maybe don't make, certain people look in the best light, like Daniel, I'm not hidden from those things. I've been the one that have broken many of the things that that don't look good. And that's because of what he's told me. And, at the end of the day, I just kind of think that RCMP's investigation is pretty thorough. But if there's more to it, I'd be definitely interested. How far outside of this? I'm not familiar. Where was this found? Was it a child's sweater?
No, it was a woman's sweater, and it was, I believe, if I remember correctly, it was a gray type sweater, like a sweatshirt sweater type with a cheetah print.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
They never mentioned anything about that, which is fine. We've already submitted it. Major Crimes came right away. They seemed interested, so that was great. But they, I wonder about the police's work with this, just to an extent. I mean, I respect them. I love them. I appreciate them. I work with them often. But my question is that, so there was a witness that has come forward that actually states being on Lansdowne Station Road Lansdowne Road, and they actually were stopped by two vehicles. One was identified as Elvin McKenzie, and the other person, one of the occupants of the second vehicle, was named as Jenna Jowdry. So when this witness went to the police with the information, they didn't really do anything about it. But I'm just wondering, given the fact that they pulled him over in order to check this evidence that they found at 10:45 in the morning on May 2nd, and yet that item was not reported as found until after 3:21 by a girl named Emily Ogley. So why didn't they report these items found at 10:45 in the morning and head in the other direction rather than go to the house and report it? Why did nobody ever hear about it till late in the afternoon?
I don't know. Like I said, this is the first time I've heard about any of this.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that's been distorted between all this project obstruction that has been going on between these camps. And it is quite frustrating trying to run an investigation when you have 20,000 other investigators competing for that spot. So,
right.
You
So run that by me again. Somebody got pulled. McKenzie, which McKenzie got pulled over?
No, it wasn't a McKenzie that got pulled over. It was our witness
Okay.
Was driving down the road, heading to a fishing spot, I believe, and happened to notice these people on the side of the road, slowed down. They flagged them down. The girl said, we found a shirt. He's seen her run out of the bushes towards the vehicle. And then she said, oh, we found a shirt down here, and told them that they were family from Truro, and they were out looking for the missing kids. Well, the witness had never heard of any missing kids or anything like that at that point. So was curious, went and looked at the shirt that was placed ever so nicely over the top of a little pine tree. And then those guys ended up departing ways. But when they left in the complete opposite direction of the house on Gairloch. And then later on, I'm checking the court documents, finding out that Emily Oakley reported finding these items, and her timestamp on her photo for those items was at 3:21 p.m. But those items were discovered at 10:45 a.m. We have a witness statement.
Gotcha.
So I don't understand that.
I don't either. That's interesting. I mean, at 10:45 a.m., that's super early.
Right?
That's like the police didn't even arrive there. They just arrived at Gairloch Road for I don't know, 12 minutes already at that point. I think they got there at 10:27.
Precisely.
And so, now if it was, I guess, a McKenzie, I mean, where did that name come from? I know you mentioned it.
Because unlike the police, I actually made sure that my team supplied this witness with a complete photo lineup of anybody and everybody we could compile that could possibly be related to the case. And after numerous selections, they did finally pick out Elvin McKenzie as one of the drivers of a silver Civic 4-door. And Jenna Jowdry was hanging out the back of a dark-colored sedan.
Okay.
They were confidently identified by a very valid source.
And has this source spoken to law enforcement?
Yes. Okay. Everything that I'm stating to you has been forwarded to law enforcement at the time that all these claims were made, but nothing's been followed up, and everything's just been kind of lost in the mail. Gotcha.
And where was and how far away was this from Gairloch Road?
Well, you know where sorry, not to cut you off. Sorry, hon.
It's okay.
You know where the T-shirt was found along with the blanket?
I don't. I'm not. I know where one blanket was found, just the one that was in question.
Blanket, sorry, on the tree.
Yeah, the one on the tree. I'm familiar with. Yeah, I'm familiar with that one was found.
So that's right where it was.
Okay.
I can send you the logistics to all of that as well.
That'd be great. Yeah, I'd like to look at that. Because I know that the blanket was found just shortly before 4:00 by, I believe it was family members of Malaya's.
Correct. Emily Oakley and I believe Haley. Mm-hmm. Emily Oakley was the girlfriend to Hayden. She was staying with Patty and had actually come to the search with Patty. From Truro.
So did Haley also see this sweater with potential blood on it?
I don't believe so. That was collected independently. So what happened was PPMH had different search teams designated to whatever areas. Pardon me.
Okay.
And there was a couple participants who weren't able to make the terrain. So they just kind of scouted off on their own. And they ended up coming across it, taking pictures, phoning it in. And then nobody wanted to do anything with it. But when it was brought to our attention, I thought, well, no, it's in that area. So I think, it's worth having a look at, just to have a look at least. Mm-hmm. And then when it was opened up and looked at, it was like, okay, that might be blood. So how about we just send it in?
Right. Well, I would assume, this is a big assumption, but I would assume that it would have been tested. And I know that they've gotten toothbrushes or some sort of stuff from Jack and Lilly to match for DNA. So there should be a easy way to determine whether or not that was blood, that it belonged to them or not. And that would determine whether or not the blood was related to somebody of theirs. Now that doesn't mean Daniel, obviously. So if Daniel cut himself or something happened to Daniel and he bled on something, he himself told me they have never asked for his DNA. He believes they have his DNA because he's drinking cups and things like that during interrogations and stuff like that, but they've never swabbed him himself. But if it was like Malaya's, if it was somebody else who was related to them, there would be some sort of like somewhat of a match. So it's interesting. I wonder about it. I had heard that they had found other items. Now, I was familiar with the sweater. I was not familiar with it being any possible blood on it. I was familiar with, I think, a shirt, another piece of blanket, a separate pink blanket that wasn't apparently associated with anything, and some bottled water bottles and some other things that were in that area. Or, let me rephrase that were unknown where they were found. When Daniel told me about those items, he told me that those items, when they showed him pictures of it, they were all separate. So he doesn't know if they were found together, found separate, or any of those things. And in the RCMP documents, they kind of loosely mentioned some of those items as not being relevant. But if there's blood on it, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's not confirmed yet. It looks suspicious to me. And you know what? When it was called into the RCMPs to come and look at it, they actually made it there in due time, I think 10, 15 minutes. Like they wanted their hands on it. So I thought that was interesting that, it wasn't handed in by other people on these searches, but, it could be valid. And I don't know why it wouldn't have been collected.
That's interesting why it wouldn't have been collected so early on. I don't understand why it wouldn't have been either if they took all the way till 3:00. That's wild. But
yeah, it is. It's pretty sad. Like, that's how much information has been lost in transition here. It's like, things that should have been said or done have not been. Instead, we've been worried about other things that are just obstructing it all. And it's getting tough. Like, I would love to be able to ask Alvin, why he was on that road, or even talk to Jenna and find out, why she didn't report it. But Daniel's camp has been against me since day one, so I get nowhere with that. I'd love it if you could ask.
Yeah, no, I already, I am. Trust me. So if you send me the names, Alvin is one of them, right? You said Alvin? You know what? I'll ask right now. I don't know if I'll get an answer right now, but I'll ask. All right, I sent out the question there. I know that I've talked to Janie and I've talked to Daniel, and both of them have said that they're kind of stepping away. Also, they've been attacked a lot, and so one of the things that they have been saying beforehand is that they've noticed that Malaya does get attacked, but not as much as them, and they've realized it's because they talk so much to social media, and so they've basically told me that they're stepping away because of that. So we'll see if they respond to me. But that's interesting. I was not aware of that. And so were you part of the recent search?
I have not been a part of the PBMH for about a month and a half, 2 months now.
Oh, okay.
I resigned from there actually earlier on in the case.
Gotcha.
I'm working actually under Daleen Thomas, the law firm.
Understood.
So yeah, so I've been looking into it all along. I usually try to keep a low profile, but I'm so tired of people missing such important, critical aspects of this case that I finally decided that, you know what, I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah. What do you think about the boot prints?
I don't know. In my experience looking for missing people, I mean, a boot print around the place where they went missing, maybe, but a boot print that far away and just a boot print when it's two children, I don't know. I find that skeptical.
RCMP indicated there were a cluster of boot prints, 2 different sizes, both children. One of them matched the boots that were purchased by Malaya in March, with the down to the size on the thread pattern of the boot print, saying 29. And that they also indicated that they believed it was out of the way for other kids to have been walking in that area.
Okay. That I would suggest maybe looking more into, but I wasn't aware of other boot prints that matched their exact sizes. I was told that the bigger size of boot would have been way too big for Lilly. So I'll confirm that.
No, so the documents indicate that there was a 29, and in fact, they thought it was too small. So they went and spoke with Malaya, and Malaya said that Lilly wore a size 13, and it was said size 29, which correlated with size 11. And so they ended up going and getting Malaya's financial records, and they find a purchase of these boots in March. And so when they went and they compared the SKU number with the store, they were able to determine the boots, and they were the same boot pattern that had the number on the bottom. And what they found out was that Malaya had actually bought size 11 with the number 29 on the boot tread on the bottom end of it, which somewhat matched almost everything that's I'm hearing. And they said cluster. Now, I know that there could be a language barrier, with Canada and United States, but a cluster to me kind of sounds like a group of you know what I mean? It doesn't sound like just one group of boot prints. It sounds like a group of boot prints. So like you might have a few boot prints here in mud, and then a dry spot, and then mud, and then another group of boot prints, and then dry spot and mud. And that's what creates the cluster of these boot prints. But that's just my interpretation of it. It could have been just one, but they do mention two small sizes that children would wear. And one of them matched Lilly size down to the thread, the tread pattern also from the boot. So to me, I like, as much as like, a lot of people want to look like towards Daniel or Malaya and what they were doing the night before, those boot prints kind of throw a wrench into that. And that's one of the main reasons why I believe that they wandered off more than anything is the boot prints. If those boot prints didn't exist, I'll be honest, I'd probably be more towards like, hey, they did something. But the fact is those boot prints do exist. And
but the canine weren't able to do anything with it.
Yeah, but canines aren't like perfect either. And when did the canines go out there? The boot prints weren't found until the middle of the night. It rained overnight. I think there's where they were at and where they were located. They could have gone much further away from there. I think the other problem is I think that the kids got out of that house around 9 a.m. I don't think it was closer to 10. I think there was 9. And although search and rescue were at Eden Lake, not that far away, they didn't get called out till after 10:30 because that's when RCMP arrived, or local law enforcement arrived at about 10:27 a.m. So they're not calling out search and rescue until after that. Now, just because they get the call at 10:30 doesn't mean they're going to flash get there. They got to load up, pack up, set up, get out of there, show up, figure out a game plan where they're going to go. And there's a lot that goes on. And according to the dispatch documents, it don't sound like they were out there before 11 a.m. searching. And, from 9 to 11, 2 hours, the boot prints were only 2.5 kilometers away. Well, in enough time for those two kids to get out there. Out here in Arizona, there was a 2-year-old that walked 7.5 miles overnight. Throughout one day, and overnight was found the next morning when I guess a ranch dog ended up walking this 2-year-old about 2 miles to the ranch house. But he had already walked, I think, like 5 miles unattended through the desert.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and Jack, when he was 2 years old, he left the house.
Right.
And so he has, to me, a little bit of a history there. He got into a junkyard, past the junkyard, into a schoolyard, and was fixing to go into the woods before school personnel stopped him. And so, all those things kind of indicate to me that, that they wandered off. Now, if somebody wants to argue that, hey, Malaya should have been aware that her kid was willing to wander off and should have, done something more, or Daniel should have done something more. He shouldn't have been doing drugs, and maybe he would have been more aware, and this, that, and the third. I can't argue with that one bit, not at all. But nefarious acts, I'm not certain about.
Right. So I'm wondering, going back to the boot prints, I must have been fed wrong information, which isn't, I guess I shouldn't even be surprised because I was given so much wrong information in the beginning. But anyways, besides that, was there any indications if there was quads or any type of vehicles anywhere near the boot prints? Like, is this something that could have happened from changing positions on the back of a quad or like a cluster of boot prints? Like, could it be them dismounting and changing positions and then getting back on? Or is this them just clearly walking?
I would say that's them more walking. And the reason behind it is because of the investigation that they went into it. Plus, they investigated the boot prints per the court documents between May 3rd and all the way up to May 27th. So they were extensively trying to figure out whose boot prints they were. And nobody's come forward to say, hey, we were on that trail. It was ours, and you would assume that if they were on the trail searching, that these are people that care for Lilly and Jack and would have been like, hey, those were our boot prints, don't look there. That's not what it was. It was us. So nobody's come forward. It doesn't appear based on the information from the documents that there was any other boot prints. It just says that there was a cluster of boot prints. There were 2 of them. They were children's size and they were out of the way. To me, if there was kind of like some of the other stuff that they've disputed, I think they would have come out and said, hey, we think that these were put there by another means. They do leave a possibility because there were some kids searching, but they also in that same sentence say, but these prints were way out of the way for 2 kids to be on their own, basically. And so I'm going to try to pull it up so I can get the verbiage word for word because of where it is. But yeah, let's see, because I know I have the documents pulled up right here. I keep them open just in case I ever need them. Here it is. So ground search rescue. So it says here, ground search rescue residents. Hold on, that's not it. Well, here's the analysis of the boot print. It says here that on May 3rd, cast of the located a boot print on the pipe trail. The boot print showed to be a specific number 29 on the thread. She wondered if the number was based on design or size. They went to Walmart and located several sizes of the same boot, so the same boot pattern. And the number consistent with 29 was found only on size 11 boots. Other sizes had different numbers. For example, size 12 showed 30, size 10 showed 27. Malaya had initially said that she thought Lilly wore size 12 or 13, which wouldn't be consistent. However, he was able to confirm Malaya's purchased Lilly's rainbow boots on March 20th with the SQ number corresponded with a size 11 boot. So that's what matches there. I know it was a little bit before this. I hope it didn't delete what I had. Yeah, it did. All right. So it says here, boot prints were found on the pipeline by GSR on Friday night into Saturday morning. There were clumps of them. There were 2 different sizes. She said they were small in size and corresponded to what children would wear. The focus, and they're searching that area because of the boot prints. So you had the boot prints, 2 of them sizes cluster together, and then one of them that matched the boots that were just purchased. Same boot pattern, same thread pattern, same number on the boots to what was purchased on March 20th, just a few weeks earlier. So to me, I just think that all those things in consider mean that the kids left those boot prints, in my opinion.
Right. No, that's definitely food for thought. I like that. I like that was confirmed. I wasn't aware of that, which makes me feel kind of silly, but I mean, I can't know everything.
No, I hear you. I mean, I don't either. And that's why when you tell me about this blood stuff, I'm like, oh, crap, what did I get wrong? Well, Ms. Travers, it was great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd love to have a longer, more dedicated episode maybe with you and I, if you would like to do that.
That might be a possibility. I don't usually do media, but I might be able to handle this.
There you go. Well, I'll reach out to you. I'll see if you can reach out to me. My email is drunkturkeyshow@gmail.com. I'd love to talk to you more and get some more information from you about what's going on. Like I said, my goal is accuracy. I don't side with anybody but the truth, and so hopefully we can find some answers. But thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for you've been a pleasure to talk to.